Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Galway International Oyster and Seafood Festival for 2020. What a glorious day we have here right on the shores of Galway Bay. Now, like every single festival and event around the world, we've had to adapt and make changes to this year's festival. So we're coming to you here live from Galway with just an Irish contingent of competitors today. Our international visitors and guests, we say hello and a warm welcome to you watching live from wherever you are in the world. We can't wait to bring you back to Galway in 2021 and crown a World Oyster Opening champion. But today it's all about Ireland, it's all about our competitors here and our National Oyster Opening Championship in partnership with Fáilte Ireland, BIM, Kelly's Oysters and of course the lovely Guinness. So we're going to bring our competitors onto the stage here this afternoon. Of course we are adhering to all social distancing guidelines and we're delighted to bring a very strong contingent of Irish oyster openers here today. We have got our defending champion and defending world champion joining us here in Galway Bay. So without further ado, we welcome them to the stage and we bring number 3, Michael Kelly, number 2, William Moran, and number 1, David Small to the table. So normally we'd have a massive cheer, we'd have lots of music, we'd have great crack and banter going on in the Oyster Festival tent down just in the Claddagh. But today, as you can see, we have a wonderful day. You can see Galway Bay in the background, the hills of Clare indeed towering over us, looking across the bay here this afternoon. So we can see the competitors are now taking their oysters out of their box. Kelly's Oysters, they have 30 oysters on the box, or they've 32 oysters in fact in the box, and they will open 30 oysters. Now you will see they'll take plenty of time to check each oyster to make sure that there's no dirt, no grit. They'll check the hinges of the oysters as well, just to make sure that they can open them really quickly, because it's not just about the skill or the time in doing it, it's actually about the skill and the presentation as well. And you will see how our competitors are placing the oysters on their boards as well. So some of them will go straight down the top, some will go across in a diagonal version. Some of these guys haven't actually opened an oyster since 2019, so I've been told. But we will wait to see how the competition unfolds today. I'd like to invite our timekeepers now up behind the stage, Katie, Jolene and Mary, who are going to be keeping a strong watch on the time and also trying to give me an indication of how many oysters are open as we go through the competition. So the first point of interest is that we will look at the time it takes. So once they're ready, they will raise their hands, and once we are all ready together, we will count down from 5 and then we will get the competition underway. The first person to open all 30 oysters will then ring their bell, and the clock will stop for them, and that will be the first piece of the competition done. It's then down to the skill of the oyster opening, whether there's any blood or grit or dirt in the oysters when they are examined by our Oyster Festival Committee. And of course then it's about the presentation. So how do they look? Do they look like they would be appetizing if they were served up to you in a restaurant or on a plate this afternoon? So as I say, we have Michael Kelly, William Moran and David Small. And once you are ready, gentlemen, you may raise your hands. Of course, you see that they have gloves and knife as well. Timekeepers, are you ready? We have the nod. And oyster openers, are you ready? Now, if we had a drum roll, it would be brilliant, but we don't have one, so we're going to count down from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go! And as I said previously, in the marquee down at the Claddagh in Galway, there would be ructions, absolute noise going on. But now today, it's a little bit quieter. We've the beautiful noise of nature as we stand on the shores of Galway Bay here this afternoon. And we see very, very quickly the oysters being opened and presented very well. We have a full row here for Michael Kelly on my left-hand side. David Small is firing away as well. And William Moran in the middle. He's being cautious about how he's presenting them on the board. Ferocious competition, ferocious concentration here this afternoon as our oyster openers try to claim the National Oyster Opening Championship title here for 2020. As I mentioned, slightly different competition in terms of setup than normal years, but still it's fantastic that we are getting our Oyster Opening Championships underway for 2020. Of course, our international visitors and guests and our international competitors would love to be here today with us, but we will see you back in 2021, and we can't wait to welcome you all back to Galway for what will be a bigger, brighter and better festival than ever before in September of 2021. Now we can just see that our competitor is a little bit over halfway. David is absolutely flying through it there. He has about 16 oysters on the board. And of course, as I mentioned, the oysters come out in a box of 32 from Kelly's Oysters, and they pick the best 30 oysters to open. They keep 2 to the side, and if they can't open an oyster, they may go to one of those 2 oysters that they didn't select, and they may not select them for quite a number of reasons, but mainly because the hinge might look a little bit tricky to open. And of course, we are looking at speed, skill and presentation for today's competition. We have 3 more competitors lined up after this. We have our reigning Irish and world champion Stephen Nolan. We have Conor Toohey. And we also have Hugh O'Malley, who's entering his very first Oyster Opening Championships. He's Hugh O'Malley of Achill Oysters. He reckons he hasn't opened an oyster in about 6 months himself. So this will be fun for Hugh. And we're continuing here now. The excitement is beginning to grow. We have 2 oysters left over here with Michael Kelly. 1 or 2 oysters there in the middle for William Moran. David Small is slacking off just a little bit. He's gone a little bit, he's slowing up a little bit, but again, it's not just about the time. There we go. Michael Kelly rings the bell first as David and William continue to open the oysters. And here we go. Final oysters down. Ooh, that was very, very close. A millisecond in it. Well done, Michael, William and David. You may now pick up your tray and bring it over to our judging tent, please. And we will have our team come in now to clean and sanitize our oyster opening table. And we'll record the time for our timekeepers. So timekeepers, you may step off as well. And we'll record the time for each of our oyster openers. So that was David Small, position number 1, William Moran in position number 2, and Michael Kelly in position number 3. And we'll just clean up the table here now and get ready for our final heat of this afternoon. And of course, we are in Galway. It is the Oyster and Seafood Festival. So although we might be keeping it local, we're going very international today. So don't forget to post in your comments some of your favourite memories of the Oyster Festival from yonder years. 64, 65 years this festival has been running now, and some of the finest oysters in the world coming from Galway. Zinc being one of the most important vitamins in and minerals in the oysters, and giving them plenty and plenty of flavour. And it's about 1 in 50,000 oysters you'll find an oyster pearl. I'm not sure if we've ever had an oyster pearl found at a Galway International Oyster and Seafood Festival, but we are delighted to be here with you today. We hope you're safe and well wherever you are in the world watching us, and we can't wait to see you back in 2021. Now, we will be bringing the second heat live to you in just a couple of minutes, and later on this afternoon we will be announcing our national oyster opening champion for 2020. And then of course later on again this afternoon we will be sharing some chef demos with you, and as you can see behind me, our team are getting ready to bring our next lot of oyster openers to the table. Stephen Nolan, of course, our defending Irish champion, and he is also your defending world champion. He'll hold on to that title until 2021 of world champion, and we will bring you all back here to Galway next year, please God. So we'll get ready now to bring our next competitors to the floor. I'll just give them a 30-second warning to get ready to join us. That will be Stephen Nolan, Conor Toohey and Hugh O'Malley, who will join us in just a couple of minutes as our team get ready to sanitise our station here on our competition board. So don't forget to place your comments in the comments section. Tell us where you're tuning in from and what your favourite memory of the Oyster Festival is from previous years. We saw some fabulous videos up from some of our previous competitors during the week, seeing that emotion, that excitement, that absolute fun that we have during the Oyster Festival every year. Slightly different this year, of course, but we are on the shores of Galway Bay and we are very excited to be here with you for 2020. I think we are ready now to bring our competitors on to the table. So we will go across now to our competitors as we invite Stephen Nolan, Conor Toohey and Hugh O'Malley to the competition floor, please. Stephen Nolan, Conor Toohey and Hugh O'Malley. Stephen Nolan, of course, your defending national champion and world champion. Conor Toohey has competed before in the Irish Oyster Opening Championships. And Hugh O'Malley making his debut on the stage here with us in Galway from Achill Oysters. Of course, a big, huge thank you to our sponsors once again this year, Fáilte Ireland, BIM, Kelly's Oysters and Guinness, who continue to support our wonderful festival here in Galway. We'll bring our timekeepers on again to the floor, Katie, Jolene and Mary, keeping a keen eye on the time. And we can see the wonderful oysters from Kelly Oysters. 32 oysters in the box. They'll select their favourite 30 oysters. It'll be interesting to see how the oysters are placed on the board here this afternoon. We saw very particular styles by Michael, William and David just a few moments ago. And I'm not sure if you can feel it at home, but the tension is palpable here right by the stage as our oyster openers get ready to go to battle. Stephen putting one of his oysters to one side. Hugh has already placed two of his oysters to one side, and you'll see Hugh has his oysters standing up, whereas Conor and Stephen have theirs slightly flatter. Different styles of opening, different styles of placing the oysters on the board. And as soon as you're ready to go, please raise your hands, and once all of you are ready, we will get ready to open. You can hold the knife in your hand, Hugh, if you wish. Quick check of the number to make sure there are a full 30 oysters on the board. Last minute check as we stand by. Okay, gentlemen, please raise your hands. Timekeepers, are you ready? Ladies and gentlemen, let's get the second heat of our National Championship competition underway in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and go! And already Stephen Nolan has his first oyster on the table, as does Conor Toohey. You see the particular stance of Stephen Nolan, getting nice and low over the board. He's studying and opening oysters every day these days. Conor not working with oysters on a daily basis. He says he hasn't opened an oyster in about 7 years. I think he might have been joking though. And then of course we have Hugh O'Malley as well over there at the top of the table, placing his oysters carefully on the board. Again, our oysters proudly sponsored by Kelly Oysters. And our partners Fáilte Ireland, BIM and Guinness, continuing to support our festival every single year. We're very grateful for that. And again, we're looking at the skill, the time and the presentation. So it's not just about opening all of the oysters as quickly as possible. It's about opening them without breaking them, without putting any shell on them, making sure there's no blood, making sure there's no dirt on the oysters, doing it as quickly as possible whilst also presenting them on the tray in a fashion in which you'd like to see it served up to you in a restaurant or on a plate at home. And the heat of the sun here in Galway, absolutely fantastic on the Wild Atlantic Way. That beautiful shimmering sea behind us, the hills of Clare. A fantastic backdrop here today, slightly different than normal, but lots of things are slightly different than normal. And making these adjustments, bringing us live today, live streaming it to you on Facebook around the world. And we see here now Stephen Nolan is absolutely flying it. So he is. I think he has, is it 2 oysters? I can clearly see on the board 2 oysters. Connor and Hugh taking their time, making sure that they look good. Presented well. Doing a final count. And there we go, the bell rung there for Stephen Nolan, your defending national champion and world champion. First in this heat, but of course we had 2 heats here today. Inspecting his own work. Are you happy, Stephen?
Yeah, good, yeah.
Happy? Yeah, that's very good. And in case you missed that on the live stream, David said the bell never rang. So it in fact did ring, we did hear it. 2 oysters left there now for Conor Toohey. And Hugh O'Malley from Achill joining us. No stranger to the seashore and no stranger to oysters. And there we go. We have Conor Toohey just ringing the bell now. So the attention shifts to Hugh. So Stephen, what was it like last year winning the World Championships?
It was good. It took a while. I've been doing it a long time, so it was good to win it.
So how many years have you been competing?
Probably 10 or 12 years.
And great excitement last year in Ireland to come away with the championship title for the world, yeah.
Yeah, it was a good record in Ireland of winning the World Championship.
And I think you were the competitors' favourite as well, if I'm not mistaken. Fantastic winner on the day, and everybody was delighted for you to take that World Championship title for Ireland. But today, again, as I've mentioned, it is the day of the National Championships. As I've said previously, it is a very different year in 2020. Our National Championships taking place here on the shores of Galway Bay instead of down in the Claddagh, which was once one of Ireland's fishing villages. And of course, we will return there in 2021, and we will hope to bring all of our international competitors and their friends back to Galway. Of course, lots and lots of friends of the Oyster Festival tuning in today. Don't forget to post your favourite memories of the Galway Oyster Festival in the comment section today, and fill our newsfeed full of happy memories of Galway over the years at the Oyster Festival. As we did mention earlier, Hugh doesn't spend much of his time opening oysters. He is the owner of an oyster company himself, so he opens the odd one to test them and to taste them and check the quality of them, but he doesn't spend much time opening oysters at speed. It doesn't at all, Hugh. We're enjoying the sunshine. He will have earned his oysters this afternoon as he makes his way back to Mayo, to Achill. Another beautiful spot in Ireland on the Wild Atlantic Way. Of course, we're blessed here in Galway, right in Salthill, to be on the shores of Galway Bay today. If you're looking closely, you can see the hills of Clare in the background. Stunning scenery behind us here in the outdoors, something we don't think we've ever done before at the Oyster Festival is to host it outdoors. So whilst it's a first that we're doing something different, it's also a positive first that we get to experience the beauty of nature as we work through the national championships. I think he has one oyster left, maybe. There we go, and he rings the bell. Just crossing the line there, Hugh O'Malley. So, ladies and gentlemen, we now invite our oyster openers to lift their trays, please, and to make their way to the oyster competition tent, the judging tent. And thank you to our timekeepers as well. We'll record the time. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to leave it here now just for the next few minutes. So we'll be back to you live very, very shortly with our national champion, and we will be crowning that national champion later on this afternoon. So for the moment, grab a cup of tea, or if you can, grab a pint of Guinness, and we'll see you back here live very, very shortly. Gurmila Mahagav. counting me in? Welcome back, everybody, to our Oyster Festival for 2020. As I've mentioned previously, we are on the shores of Galway Bay and the excitement was fantastic. I hope you enjoyed our coverage of the National Oyster Opening Championships here for 2020. Well, I'm delighted to be able to announce now our competitors, bring them back to the stage and announce their positions for the Irish Oyster Opening Championships. So we're going to invite them back to the stage here, and they are going to pick up, our winner will pick up the John O'Dowd Perpetual Trophy. We're delighted to have John's son Gary here with us today as well. So without further ado, we're going to invite our Irish Oyster openers back to the stage, and the order of which is as follows. In 5th position for 2020, congratulations to Hugh O'Malley. In 4th position, it is Conor Toohey. 3rd position, William Moran. And this is where it gets exciting, ladies and gentlemen, because for the first time in quite a while, we have a joint 2nd position. So please welcome to the stage now, just in front of us here, Michael Kelly and David Small, which means that your national champion for 2019 retains his title. Congratulations to Stephen Nolan, your Irish opening champion for 2020. He can come in and pick up the cup, Stephen. We'll keep social distancing. He can pick up the cup, and there's great excitement here. Stephen, congratulations to you once again, national champion. You also hold on to your title as world champion until 2021. How do you feel?
Great, thanks. I was very worried about these lads. They're very good openers, so it's great to win it again.
Well, fantastic, and a huge round of applause again for all of our Irish openers today. Hugh O'Malley, Conor Toohey, William Moran, Michael Kelly, David Small, and your national champion, Stephen Nolan. Well, that's it from all of us here in Galway. Thanks again for joining us here in Galway for 2020 for our slightly different International Oyster Festival. We can't wait to welcome you back to the Claddagh in Galway for 2021, where we will crown a new national champion and also a world champion. In the meantime, please stay safe and keep happy. We look forward to seeing you in 2021. Slán agus Banach Scolaire.